Hello, BookTube. I've got a little miscellaneous book video to share with you today, just so that we can talk about books a little. It's a few different categories, starting with a book that I read, a book that I received on this channel recently and read. I wanted to give you a little thumbnail of it because my initial reactions to it were negative, and my reading experience was extremely positive. It's this, Gabriel Krause's Who They Was. We saw this, I unveiled this or unboxed it the other day. It bills itself as a novel about a character who grew up in the seedy, crime-ridden underbelly of a certain part of London, but now is going to university. He's still deeply enmeshed in that world, that underworld of guns and constantly getting high and constantly doing crimes, constantly robbing people in order to support a lifestyle, while also at the same time going to university. And I wasn't expecting to like this. I obviously, for a number of different reasons. One, because I thought it would be progressive politics pandering, and there's quite a bit of that in this book. But I also thought it would be completely talentless because I knew for a fact that the title novel, right there on the cover, was a lie. That this is just a memoir. That everything in it, every person in it, every line of dialogue, every action, every place, every financial transaction in every corner shop can all be verified, can all be traced down to the social media posts of all of the people involved. There isn't a bit of fiction in this. And I thought, since the author and the publisher are lying, and this is the reason why, so that it can be longlisted for prestigious prizes that don't extend their remit to nonfiction, so that it can tap into an audience that likes the word novel and doesn't like the word memoir. I thought that because of all that, I would dislike the end product, but the end product is blazingly talented. As a debut, I mean, it is draped in a lie. This is a memoir, but as a debut, it is rhetorically, like just linguistically, the performance involved is amazingly good, just amazingly good. The point of the writers of the two-world gimmick here was obviously to immerse people in the main character's the crime side of his world. The object was to immerse the reader in that world. All of its vocabulary, all of its way of thinking, all of the contours of its daily realities, its daily necessities, all that sort of stuff that Gabriel Krause was, I think, probably for racist reasons, assuming that his audience knows nothing about it all. And I think he was probably also for racist reasons, assuming that world is realer, more valuable, has more lessons to teach, is also the product of systematic oppression, as if these characters don't make the decisions that they make every single day. They do. It isn't systematic oppression that makes you make a decision. You make the decision. But one way or another, I was expecting from all of those elements that I wouldn't like this, regardless of what it is, regardless of whether or not it lies about its own categories or its own nature. I thought I wouldn't like it, and I did. I did very much. I would be willing to bet, I'm not 100% sure how sold a lot of you will be on it, but if you were, for instance, to request it from your library, make sure that they buy it. I think it's an important book, so they probably should. If you were to read it from the library, I bet you wouldn't stop. I bet if you started with all of the reservations that I had, I don't think you go into this with more reservations than I had. I think if you started with all of those reservations, you would probably keep reading. I did. And I didn't feel beholden. I didn't request this from the publisher. I didn't feel beholden to the author at all. And I still don't. I still don't. The author has, I always mention on this channel, the Bank of Steve, how if you do your job correctly, if you keep me reading, then you have very good credit at the Bank of Steve that will be there the next time you publish anything, if you do. And this author has done that, very much so. So the next time this author writes a book, I will eagerly read it. I won't need my arm twisted. I won't go into it with any apprehension at all. I'll go into it with all the flags flying high, with thumbs up. The only thing I will look for in any kind of a wary sense with that next book is whether or not it too lies about what it is. This kind of open cynicism really bothers me. This kind of a publisher just openly gaming the system because they want the kind of cultural and commercial cachet that comes with fiction, even though the writer did not turn in a work of fiction. That has always bugged me. It bugged me long before the term autofiction was coined. And it bugs me now when we live in the shining, absolute, ironclad dictatorship of autofiction. It is the only thing on the fiction lists of 90% of mainstream publishers for the next 2 years. Is an author named Bob Smith saying, here's a story about an author named Bob Smith writing a book that has the same title as this book. And his story is that he had to work real hard at this book while he was also a struggling stay-at-home husband for his wife Niobe, while they were having their 2 kids, Tristan and Isolde. And my wife's name is Niobe, and my kids are Tristan and Isolde, and for a long time I was a housewife. And at no point does anybody along the chain, not the beta readers, not the friends, not the agent, not the publisher, at no point does anybody say, well, okay, then, regardless of what you might want or I might want, what you are describing is, in fact, your memoirs. So we, for ethical reasons, will not call this a poetry collection or a science fiction debut or a novel. We won't call it what it self-evidently is not. At no point will anybody say that. Has anybody said that for any of these upcoming books? So I'm just going to have to get more used to it than I already was. But on the positive side, if they're all as good as this, then I'll deal with my categorical irritation in some other way. Maybe I'll go to just one reader for therapy, one way or another. If the books are all this good, then I'll make allowances for the fact that the author, the publicist, the publisher are all lying. They're all lying. I might make allowances for the categorization of the book because of the talent of the book, but I don't make any allowances for lying. If you know what you're doing, and they do, this is very much a product of calculation. This thing could win the Booker Prize, which is fiction. This isn't fiction. No part of it is fiction. Not a single word of it is fiction. Nevertheless, I liked it, so I have that to report. I didn't think that I would. I thought that I would get 10 pages in and feel all the usual things that I feel in the Raven Leilani world. I would get 10 pages in and just feel the palpable birth of a nation racism. Just palpable bigotry. This character is a man. I don't need to explain why this character lops the heads off puppies, because I've already told you he's a man. This character is white. So I don't need to explain to you why this character just dramatically goes out of her way in every scene to be a flaming a-hole to everyone around her. I've already told you she's white. Come on, let's get on the same KKK page here. I've already accustomed myself to that, and I was kind of expecting that with this book, that within 30 pages, that's what I would be encountering. Just, I'm not going to explain the things that my characters are or the things that they do, because I've already told you, I've already given you all the explanation that a 21st century, open in the light of day bigot needs. And if your only defense to that, as a tactic on the part of a writer, would be to say, I didn't get that because I am not a bigot, and the 21st century already has that covered, right? I'm sure you've seen the memes on social media, same as I have. Treat racism like you would treat COVID. Assume you have it. So if you say, well, I didn't get these signals that you're dropping because I'm not a racist, so I don't see any internal reason in the book why this character should act this way, and you're telling me the reason is the racial category or the gender category or whatever that you have assigned them, and that I'm supposed to infer from that all the negative things that they are, and that they can't be anything positive. Anyway, I was expecting a lot of that malarkey with this, and there is a lot of that malarkey in this book, but for me, it didn't override the quality of the thing. I'm sure that I will reread it before it comes out in paperback. But anyway, that was a book that I read, and the attendant rants. Then I want to show you 2 books that I got in the mail. I want to show you 2 books that I got in the mail that I opened off camera. I know I'm not supposed to do that, but I did for two of them, and I have two packages that we'll open together. The first one that I opened off camera is by Olivia Drake. This is When a Duke Loves a Governess, in a book in the Unlikely Duchesses series. It was a heavily purple-themed cover with the vague hint of a Regency dining room in the background. This is, once again, one of these wider mass-market paperbacks that I've read now 3 of these, and I have to say that the experience of reading them is weird. I would say unsuccessful. They don't fit comfortably in the hand. It's just that 1/2 inch that makes such a difference. I tend to lose track of these books, lose control of them. The first 2 that I read went sailing across the room when I was reading them. I imagine some of that is practice, but I don't see why I should have to practice. I honestly don't. The previous size factor was perfect. Why would you change it? I don't understand why this form exists. It doesn't seem to me to be enough of a concession to the idea that maybe your readers are a little older. It doesn't seem to be enough of a concession to that. It doesn't seem like it comes close enough to being, for instance, a trade paperback size to really make a difference in terms of ease of reading. And I don't know of any other reason why that would be true. But one way or another, let's see what we have here. Tessa James has worked and planned tirelessly to open her own millinery shop. All she needs now is a loan from the lord who sired and abandoned her. The only problem is she doesn't even know his name. What's a woman to do to find him but enter the aristocratic world by becoming a governess? Guy Whitby, the new Duke of Carlin, has returned to London after years abroad to discover that his young daughter Sophie has become a wild child known for scaring away every governess who's crossed his doorstep. When Tessa James applies for the job, he hires her in desperation despite his misgivings that she's too bold and beautiful and that she might be fibbing about her qualifications. Their blooming attraction leads them on a completely unexpected path to love that neither wants to deny. But when an old enemy threatens Guy's family, their forbidden romance goes up in flames. Can they still learn to love and trust each other as forces try to tear them apart? Well, I have all sorts of questions about that plot summary right there. For instance, is there any chance in the world that her editors allowed her to have the courage to have Tessa James and Guy Whitby be half-siblings? And if that of course will not be the reveal at the end of this book. The reveal will be that she is the daughter of somebody else and that they aren't half-siblings. That she's not his father's daughter. Of course that will be the reveal in the end. But imagine if the reveal at the end was that they do fall in love and maybe even, considering what modern-day regencies are like, maybe even consummate that love. And then realize that they are siblings and cannot live happily ever after. I would read that book. We'll see. I'll probably enjoy the conclusion of this thing just as much, but I won't be able to not think about those possibilities. Imagine if, the plot sets it right up. Imagine if they were half siblings. Imagine if they had the same father and they didn't know it. And they fall passionately in love because she becomes his governess. And maybe they think they're going to have a married life together, and then they realize they can't. Or even worse would be, what if they realize that that's the truth, and then behave as people in the Regency upper classes really would have behaved, which is to go ahead with the marriage. Even though, you see, this is the twists and turns of modern-day Regency romances. The writers know perfectly well. The ladies who write these books study the Regency period. They know the details, even if they're going to write a book that fudges them. You'll notice how many modern-day Regencies we've talked about recently, in which it is just a given that the woman is her own boss, that she owns a business of some kind. She isn't just a debutante waiting for a man to provide her with a house and an income. That seems to be on the decline. I hardly ever see that premise in a modern Regency anymore. They almost always have a business of some kind or other. But these authors know they have to tread a fine line. They can't have the Regency reflected in these books, be too close to accurate. Because the Regency period was filthy. Absolutely, physically filthy. Had people with lice crawling across their faces during an opera show, or the Milord the Duke who wouldn't have bathed ever since childhood. just have caked of dirt or anything like that, and so on and so forth, and not to mention anything about diseases that people had and lived with that ate away at them. It's not just that part of the Regency that writers have to hide from their readers. It's also the different morals of the time. One way or another, this comes out in late July, July 27th. So I've got a bit of time. I will lay it aside, I think, for a bit, because I've got a few other things to do in this coming week. Then the last book that I'll show you that's opened is a thriller. It's An Ambush of Widows by Jeff Abbott. And then you've got the very minimalistic cover there, just two women in two separate houses. Henry North is a down-on-his-luck cybersecurity expert from New Orleans. Adam Zhang is the co-founder of one of Austin's most successful venture capitalist firms. These two men didn't know each other. They had never met. Yet they died together violently in a place neither had any business being. When Henry doesn't return from a business trip, his wife Kristen panics and then gets an anonymous phone call. Your husband is dead in Austin. Flora Zhang knew her husband was keeping secrets. She suspected an affair, but she had decided she could forgive him for his weakness until her husband ended up dead. And with no explanation for her husband's murder, the police begin to suspect her. Together, these two widows must face a powerful foe determined to write a false narrative about the murders. In doing so, neither Flora nor Kristen will remain the women they thought they were. And this is a thriller. The Washington Post book list and the Library Journal all praise this author for previous books. So we will see. I didn't get a pub sheet on this, but I looked it up, and the date was the 6th of July. So this should be in your bookstores now, if it sounds like it's of any interest to you. And then we have two packages, and then we'll be done for today. These two will open on camera. Hi, baby. It's been an emotional roller coaster ride for the Bean just recently. Just an emotional roller coaster ride. It's been pouring rain here in Boston for the last 24 hours. It's not raining now. It stopped this afternoon, but all last night, and especially all of this morning, and the mid-morning, the late morning, sheets of rain, pouring rain. And Frida hates the rain. She doesn't just hate going out in it. She hates it happening. It just depresses her. And she had to go out in it. There was one little window. It lasted about 30 minutes. We only needed 15 of those minutes. I walked her on the smallest route possible to give her the idea that you have to pee and poop. You have to take care of your business while it was just spitting rain. It wasn't actually raining. We no sooner got in than the skies opened up again. But that was emotionally draining thing number one. And emotionally draining thing number two is that I did a little more hair clipping with her. I do it in installments so that it doesn't freak her out completely. She doesn't like it at all. She's very good about it, but she doesn't like it. And then once we went on our little abbreviated walk, it wasn't raining, but it was spitting rain. There was rain in the air. So when we got back inside, she was damp, and she doesn't like that at all. And I decided to just grab the bull by the horns. Since she was already damp, I decided to just go ahead and give her a bath. So we did that. And she was very good. She was an angel all throughout. I swear, I think a part of her understands that it makes her feel better. The actual moment of the bath, it takes about 6 minutes. Those 6 minutes are unpleasant. But then all the rest of it afterwards feels great for a week. I think there's a part of her that understands that. But one way or another, it was a rocky hour after that where she didn't really want to look at me. Now we're back to being friends now. but it wasn't. It was rough for a bit there. So what have we got? Oh, okay. This is the finished copy of something we've already seen the advanced copy of. This comes out at the end of the month. This is Summer Fun by Jean Thornton. Gala, a young trans woman, works at a hostel in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Now, I already went on a rant about place names in the made-up stories being characters or plot devices. When she is not maintaining the hostel's hot springs or abiding unexpected visitors from her friend Rhonda, she writes letters to B, reclusive genius of the Get Happies, the quintessential Beach Boys-esque 1960s California band she's obsessed with. Why did the band stop making music? What happened to B? Do you remember this? I thought this was such an incredibly good uh, plot summary. Let's do a little more here. Gala doesn't only write letters, she enacts rituals. She lights candles and listens to Get Happy's albums in her trailer and perfects the altar she made to the Doc Martin box and thrifted G.I. Joes. These rituals have a singular purpose, to make the Get Happys unite for a world tour that will bring them to finally release Summer Fun, the studio album they left unfinished. One day, Gala's summoning seems to work, though not how she expects. Carolyn, a young cis woman armed with a video camera, appears while on a quest to find her grandmother. She may be related to the long-lost bee. I loved the sound of this thing when I first got it, and I still haven't read it. I have the advanced copy over there. I haven't got to it. So now I have the finished copy that I always take that as a sort of a push to put the book forward. Although it's coming out at the end of the month. There's a lot of the water to go under the reading bridge between now and then. So maybe I'll still wait just a bit. So now we'll do this last one, and then we'll be finished for today. What is this last one? Oh my. Okay. All right, this is a November release. Oh, a few of you are going to perk up your ears when you see this. This is by Jeremy Dauber, and it is American Comics, a History. Oh my, very nice. Okay, well, what have we got here? The author lives in New York City, fittingly enough. Starting with the Civil War and cartoonist Thomas Nash, creator of the lasting images of Uncle Sam and Santa Claus. The author Jeremy Dauber okay. All right. The author Jeremy Dauber does not start with the Civil War and Thomas Nash. His book does. Jeremy Dauber whizzes readers through comics progress in the 20th century and beyond. From the golden age of newspaper comics like Crazy Cat, Yellow Kid, or Dick Tracy, to the mid-century superhero boom, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. From the moral panic of the Eisenhower era to the underground comics movement. From the grim and gritty Dark Knights and Watchmen to the graphic novels Brilliant Rise, Art Spiegelman, Alison Bechdel, Joe Sacco. Dauber's story shows not only how comics have changed, but how American politics and history have changed them. Throughout, he describes the origins of beloved comics, champions neglected masterpieces, and argues that we can understand how America sees itself through whose stories comics tell. Okay. All right, that's kind of odd. As I know, of course, the author doesn't write the cover copy, but that is kind of odd. Crazy Cat, Yellow Kid, Dick Tracy, and then the mid-century superhero boom: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Okay, mid-century, mid-20th century. So, Superman, Batman, Captain Marvel, especially, but you have another comics boom, considerably bigger than the mid-century boom that happens once Marvel Comics reinvents itself. It's odd to me that I'm reading the back of a book called American Comics: A History, and the back cover copy does not mention Marvel Comics at all. Not any of the Marvel Comics characters, not Stan Lee's renaissance of the superhero genre, the comic book genre, and also, by extension, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is based on comic book characters, has made $3 billion. I don't think that Jeremy Dauber has ever made $3 billion. I never have. But then again, you can only mention so much on the back of a book. Okay, so this comes out in November. This comes out on November 2nd. This is actually not a pub sheet. It's just I don't even know what it is. It doesn't really describe the book at all, but it does give the date. So this comes out in early November. So it's too far away for me to actually justify reading it. But I am nevertheless incredibly curious. And I'm wondering what kind of a comics fan I can get to review this. If you are such a comics fan and you would like this book in exchange for a review. Notice I'm not saying an honest review because I'm not expecting you to be part of the book's publicity team. If you want to break into book reviewing, if you want to try your hand at book reviewing and have a published credit to your name, you need look no further for trying than Open Letters Review. It's an online literary journal where I'm one of the editors. There, if you look at our masthead, I leave a link to Open Letters Review down below. And if you look at our masthead, you'll see a bunch of other booktubers. There are names you know there, and there are. It's a good masthead to be associated with. And I'd be happy to work with you. I'll send you the advanced copy, and you can work up an 800-word review, and I'll work on you to make it runnable, and then it will run. I'd be happy to do that. I'd be happy to help you with that if you're serious about it. And you get an advanced copy if you actually write me a review that I can use, a review that I can run. Then I'm happy to send you the finished copy of the book as well. And there's a chance that your name that you'll be blurbed on the paperback. You know that a book like this from Norton is going to get a paperback. Those things aren't nothing. I would be happy to help. Open Letters Review and before it, Open Letters Monthly have helped a lot of people to get book reviews published in venues other than us. So feel free, if you're interested, feel free to drop me a line. Just send me an email. But send it to me. Okay? Send it to me. I leave my email on every video. And it's not a dummy email. It's not to a merch store. It's not to a cousin once removed who's handling my mail while I scream at them. It's me. It's my email. Feel free to email me about this and about anything else that you feel like emailing me. But email me. Way too many people, for my liking, hear this invitation when I say it on a video and then use the Open Letters Review email address on the Open Letters website to email me about something I've asked about something to do with one of my videos, something like that. The Open Letters Review site has many editors. It is a literary review journal. So don't email me with that email, especially when I'm giving you my own email to use. So feel free, if you want to review this, feel free to email me and let me know. Actually, that applies to any of these books. If Summer Fun strikes your fancy, I'll be happy to send you the book in exchange for your attempt at a review. And the attempt will go a long way because I can help. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. So those are our books. We have American Comics, A History. Pretty nice. So the subject right up my own alley. If I don't get a volunteer to review this thing, I'll certainly review it myself. Then Summer Fun by Jean Thornton, in which a young woman tries to voodoo her favorite band back into existence. I think we've all been there at one point or another. Then An Ambush of Widows, two women connected by nothing except the unexpected deaths of their husbands. At least they think they're not connected by anything else. Be willing to bet they are. We'll see. Then we have Who They Was by Gabriel Krause, an extremely impressive debut memoir. It shows a real writing talent. We'll see if anything comes of it, but it shows real writing talent. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. And finally, When a Duke Loves a Governess by Olivia Drake. So that is the mail for today. So we will see. We will see what happens in the weekend. If I make videos, then we'll have more mail and a bunch of other stuff. If I don't, I'll see you Monday. But anyway, I'm going to go. So I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.